Hello, gentle listeners, and welcome to episode 3 of Welcome to the Podcast. I hope you survived the experience. I'm Pete, and I'm here, as always, with Mike.
Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about X-Men number 110. However, we have a few things to talk about it before we get to the issue itself. Namely, this is what is commonly referred to as an inventory issue.
But Mike, what's an inventory issue?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Not like we decided to do it ahead of time. Totally organic and natural. So an inventory issue is that in the 70s and 80s, it was very important for comics to ship at the times that they were advertised to ship. Nowadays, if something isn't ready in time, then you'll wait like how long has Battle Chasers been?
10 15 years.
Anyway, but back in the 70s and 80s, it was very important that every 2 months an issue of X-Men showed up on the stands. Every month you had Action Comics. Every month you had whatever. Mm-hmm. And so what they had was writers and artists write continuity light issues of these comics they could just keep in a drawer and then pull out, do a few light modifications to, and send it to the printer.
Yep. It's a story that can be published at any point because, you know, you had the characters, they didn't talk about things that weren't happening outside of the comic, so it could take place, you know, it could be published in 1978, it could be published in 1986.
And in order to make this work and not ruin the illusion, they did have it so the writers could add a few word bubbles in that related to current continuity. So it was kind of a common thing in the 70s and 80s that every title would have at least a couple of these sitting in a drawer somewhere. Yep,
and even as a wee child, 8 and 9-year-old Pete would be like, this seems the tone of this issue seems off. Back before I knew that there were writers and artists who were different people, it was still kind of this feels kind of weird.
Yeah, if you were reading a run of comics and came across an inventory issue, the writer and artist goal would be that you wouldn't make it wouldn't feel weird. However, it almost always feels weird to some degree or another because it doesn't quite match.
Mm-hmm. But this is actually pretty cool because this filler issue was made before John Byrne took over. This is this is another Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum issue.
Yeah, with help from another artist as well, but the main plot of it was Cockrum planning it.
Yep. So on the cover we get this is another Wolverine list cover.
Well, because Cockrum is involved here, so he did not like Wolverine at all.
Yep. And we have what we will learn is not Evil Colossus. Having the X-Men trapped in the danger room, with the danger room trying to kill them. However, it really looks like Evil Colossus.
Yeah, Evil Colossus is a thing several times. We have Mr. Sinister later, who is Evil Colossus with a diamond on his forehead. This is Evil Colossus, who actually has pupils in his eyes, which Peter usually doesn't have in his steel form. Sometimes, usually doesn't.
And a delightful sweater.
A delightful sweater. And this issue opens right up with something that doesn't matter at all, namely a baseball game. And I love it when the X-Men play baseball or football or any sport amongst each other because it highlights not only that they're kind of a family doing family outing kind of things, but also that they have different personalities and different ways of playing the game.
Yep. Which we know literally from the first word balloon, which is Wolverine going swing, bada 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 bada, swing, bada bada bada, trying to psych Colossus out.
And Nightcrawler's like, dude, didn't you notice that Peter has hit a home run every time he's been up to bat? Come on, man.
Even if he's not in steel form, he is still a 7-foot tall Russian farm boy.
He's got that farm boy strength.
Oh yeah. And then you have Professor X just going, listen, all you just shut up, play baseball.
He's theoretically the umpire here. It seems like it.
But he's running it like at the gladiatorial combat.
Banshee catching without catcher gear on. So
Now, what are the rules? So my main X-Men era is the '90s when there was definitely a no powers rule in the basketball games.
Well, it's Jean Grey. Jean Grey's gonna do whatever she wants to do.
Yeah.
And she justifies it by saying there would have been property damage to a plane from the way that you hit baseballs because you are some gigantic Russian farm boy and not in your Colossus form.
Now, that should... Okay, so let's just get really nerdy for a moment. Shouldn't that just be an out?
It should be an out, but it somehow isn't because Colossus is just like, Jean is cheating, so I am also going to cheat.
Yep. So he barrels down at Wolverine, switching into his organic steel form.
Although Wolverine draws first here, he pops his claws out through the end of his baseball glove, which handily go through the finger areas of the gloves.
That is very convenient.
He definitely had this glove custom made.
This is an example of, Chris Claremont always said that he wanted to, deep down, he wanted to have Wolverine stay dangerous. He wanted to, he wanted the X-Men to never quite be comfortable around him. So this is a great example of that. You have Wolverine who is willing to murder his roommates so that he doesn't get to first base.
Wolverine just being a loner, like he says later, although he definitely is wanting to muscle in between Jean and Scott. This is definitely not a plot that's going to go anywhere ever.
The Jean Grey, Scott Summers, Maddie Pryor, Wolverine, love Pentagon.
Yeah. The thing is that it wasn't until a lot later that Jean Grey showed any kind of romantic desire towards Wolverine. It was 100% one-sided here.
Yep. 100%. And then
Moira goes to do her housekeeper duties to let a phone technician in. And she's like, this dude looks weird.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's nothing to worry about.
I love the fact she's like... She's looking at this guy and she's like, you've seen bad plastic surgery before, Moira. Don't make him feel weird about it.
And so
he
just decides to shoot her with a tranq dart. At which point, Warhawk, who this is shockingly not his first appearance, he showed up in Iron Fist before this. He hasn't showed up very much in anything ever.
Yep.
But not an original character specifically for this plotline. Shockingly to both of us.
Yeah, so I was reading through this. I was like, hey, Mike, it seems like this is going somewhere. Is this just a Claremont thing, or he's referring to things that happened off screen and is setting things up later? Mike, you were like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, but we'll see later in this issue, Warhawk talking about the guy who sent him here. And I'm not sure who that is. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. But he recognizes that Moira McTaggart is like one of the biggest geniuses on the entire planet.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is she here being a housekeeper? That's kind of weird.
Why is one of the most famous scientists on Earth answering the door? Huh? Okay. I'm just going to lock her in a closet.
I like, though, that someone finally kind of called her on it, because previous to this it was just like, oh well, I'm a genius, but I'm also your housekeeper, and everyone's like, oh, very cool. And Warhawk is like, what?
why did my boss not mention how weird this is? And then we get like a
psychic trauma from Warhawk's master, who said that he fixed Warhawk's psyche to make him sane, in quotation marks. So we get the finger quotes on sane, so...
Probably not quite sane.
Right, and Warhawk doesn't even really know who this master is.
Just curse your nameless, faceless soul.
And he goes to work killing the X-Men for this random dude. And
then that is bizarre, and I'm sure if we come across Warhawk again later on in this podcast, which I don't think we will.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. And then we get back to even more angst from
Jean and Scott.
Mm-hmm.
As Wolverine asking Jean out on a date right in front of Scott.
Yeah.
And Scott's like, "You want a date? The date is with the Danger Room. Let's go."
The Danger Room where the safeties are apparently malfunctioning. So I'm gonna kill you, little Canadian.
I wonder if Scott like ever thinks about like when Wolverine does personal workout, let's like just accidentally turn off the safeties.
I'm sure it has come up. I'm sure that it has been on the page. And then we have Warhawk and his. We have Jean and Charles going off to chill, and Warhawk comes around the corner in just a super villain costume. It is
with a turtleneck.
With a turtleneck. You know, it gets cold in upstate New York. You know, you got to stay healthy. You don't want to get laryngitis.
And this is kind of famous, what happens next, because what happens is Warhawk uses the same tranquilizer used on Mara McTaggart, takes out Xavier with one shot, and takes out Phoenix, the most powerful being in the universe, with 2 shots.
Not 1 shot. 2 shots.
At the beginning of this encounter, they're talking about how Phoenix faced off mano a mano with Firelord and didn't lose. And now 2 tranquilizer darts.
Well,
more powerful than Herald of Galactus.
Firelord needs to get a dart gun.
Yeah, apparently so. But that's what I mean when I talk about inventory issues feeling a little bit off.
Yes.
It feels a little bit off after all the big deal that's been made of Phoenix up to this point to just trank gun her into oblivion. And she even has a thought bubble here of like, well, that was weird.
Yep. So then we get what is a recurring. So then the other X-Men are in the Danger Room. We get what's going to be a recurring event, which is while Scott Summers is not a telepath, he more or less has a telepathic connection with Jean at like all times.
And Professor X as well.
And Professor X. So he by default gets a mental image of the Jean and the Professor. They're freaking out. Something's going on. I'm going to go try and save them. And then the door shuts and locks itself.
Colossus thinks that he's going to just bust his way out, but it's a Danger Room.
He bounces off, apparently with enough force to almost kill him.
And apparently Banshee's like, why should that have hit him with almost killing strength? And Cyclops like, oh, well, there's safety locks on here that stops Professor X from killing us. And nowhere is it asked at this point, why is there a possibility of turning this up to a point of killing you?
Yeah. At this point in the podcast, I would like to take a moment and give a message to both the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning and to the United Federation of Planets. Stop giving the option of turning off the safeties on your holographic death traps.
I mean, I can understand to a degree in the Danger Room that you might want to have a setting of
this will leave a bruise.
This will beat up Colossus versus this will turn Banshee into a pizza. So, a sliding scale.
Yeah.
But something that would almost kill Colossus, there's no X-Men that it possibly could be relevant to at all.
Yeah. That will murder anyone else in this room. Then we have Kurt, who is the one person who this shouldn't be a problem for. I know Kurt doesn't like to teleport to places he can't see, but doesn't traditionally the Danger Room have a giant observation window?
Yep. And in addition to that, he could have just teleported to another spot within the Danger Room. Mm-hmm. But it does seem like he didn't notice that this was coming until it hit him in the gut and knocked the wind out of him.
So then we get a few pages of just madness and and just the knowledge that Professor Xavier has designed a room to kill everyone that sleeps under his roof.
I mean, that's not creepy at all, right? We do have here a very important moment in X-Men lore where Wolverine tells Colossus to give a fastball special. This is not the first time the Colossus throws Wolverine. That happens in X-Men 103. But in that issue, Colossus is throwing Wolverine because Wolverine's just complaining. And Colossus is like, why don't you complain somewhere else?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw you up to the top of the castle.
But this
It's a fastball special.
It is him. It is Colossus throwing a 5-foot-tall Canadian with metal claws at his problems, because nothing solves your problems like throwing a 5-foot-tall Canadian with metal claws at it.
And I mean, this doesn't happen often, but it is big in X-Men lore. The idea of the fastball special of Colossus throwing Wolverine at things.
It feels so good every time it comes up.
Oh yeah, it's like one of those moments in a movie that the whole audience like starts applauding at.
Yes.
But if it happened too often, I think it would be not as cool.
Yeah, you don't want that every issue. You don't want that every couple issues. You want that. You want that at the climax of the yearly crossover.
Yep, and it first appearing in an inventory issue is kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, kids, do not sleep on your inventory issues. You never know what you might be missing.
So now Cyclops asks Nightcrawler to teleport Wolverine outside of the Danger Room. Nightcrawler doesn't like to teleport blind, although he is familiar enough with the mansion that it's not totally blind. And Kurt says that when he did this with Lilandra, it hurt him quite a bit, and it hurts him quite a bit again. It even knocks Wolverine out. Nowadays, Wolverine would just be like up doing jumping jacks immediately, but we're still in the early Bronze Age where Wolverine just heals faster than the rest of us.
At this point, Wolverine is still he's a tough dude. He feels fast, but there's no instantaneous regeneration. You know, I believe that there was actually like one of the old secret files was mentioned that what would take a grown man a week to heal, Wolverine could do in a day.
So it's supposed to just be faster than normal, and that's what it is here. We'll cut back to them eventually. Here's Storm getting beat up by the Danger Room, and we mention Storm's claustrophobia again. Storm's claustrophobia is a frequent plot device, and it's a plot device because Storm is
an actual goddess?
Yeah, on paper, the most powerful of these X-Men. Keep in mind that Phoenix is not officially an X-Men.
Yep.
We got dude who heals fast. We got short distance teleports and acrobatics. We got the Sonic Scream, which can be powerful, but tends to not be that powerful. We got eye beams that can hurt. And
Giant Russian farm boy.
And then we have someone with complete control of every aspect of the weather. It can create lightning at will, can fly, can use wind at will, can
create a monsoon in her apartment.
Sometimes has created fog in order to stealth the X-Men places. Storm is by far the most powerful of this group of X-Men, so we have to have a way to occasionally plot device her out of the action, and that way is crippling claustrophobia.
Although I do like the fact that the Danger Room that's trying to kill everyone else, once it knocks Storm out of the sky, a platform politely catches her, and it does lock her in a room that's going to give her a panic attack. But Warhawk doesn't know that, but he's just like he wants to make sure she doesn't hurt herself falling down.
But she's freaking out about it, and Banshee knows about it, and even Cyclops is like, "Oh, I think that she."
We should probably do something about this.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't. It's hard to think that Storm has any kind of weakness, and Banshee's like, "Oh, this plot device was already used in X-Men number 102, just with a little asterisk here to let you know that." And this is a thing that I wish Marvel did more often. Back in these days, at least 4 or 5 times an issue, they would have a little asterisk that said, Banshee's talk about something that happened in X-Men number 102.
Oh, yeah, because back when Mike and I were reading comics, you didn't always know that you were going to get the next issue. There was no guarantee that you had read the issue before that. You just picked up a comic, you hoped the number was close to the last one that you read it, and you would have these little reminders. Hey, if you want to see this fight or this thing Spider-Man's talking about, go to your drugstore, go to the comic book store, look for this specific issue, so you can see this cool thing that happened.
And it really makes you, even if you can't, which I couldn't at the time, find a place that would sell you back issues. I grew up in a really rural area. It gives you an idea that the Marvel Universe is this large, intricately intertwined group of stories.
Yep.
So it makes you inclined to not want to miss out on anything. Buy every Marvel comic you can find.
You can literally see Stan Lee saying that.
Well, I mean, Stan Lee was one of the greatest salesmen of all time. Mm-hmm. And then the Danger Room defeats Banshee with the power of soundproofing.
And I just love the fact that, and then it's revealed that in order to take out Colossus, Professor X has a 15-foot tall killer robot named Colosso just in a closet.
Cyclops is implying that Colosso is something that existed before. I have not read very many Silver Age issues of X-Men, so I'm just going to believe Cyclops on this matter.
And I just love the fact Cyclops is like, it's Colosso. Why don't you fight him, Colossus?
And Lennon's ghost.
Yep, we are getting that. We are getting that again. Many Claremont characters will get many catchphrases. Lennon's ghost is going to be a persistent one.
And Colossus gets hit with glue, which somehow stops him from moving. It's like quicksand glue.
I don't even know, yeah.
Colossus is pretty powerful, so this is, I don't know.
John Byrne would not have gone for that.
I don't think so either. And so Wolverine has a Wolverine answer once he manages to start recovering. Quicker than Nightcrawler, but not instantaneous, like we discussed.
You still have the little sparklies above his head to show us that he's still out of it.
And he's even saying that he's kind of out of it. And so he has the Wolverine solution that will be used over and over again for the next 50 years, which is, I'm going to pop out my claws and I am going to stab anything that looks like it might be important.
When the only tool you have are razor-sharp claws, everything is something you can stab.
And he stabs it, and he stabs it very successfully, but then Evil Sweater Colossus
does not get less funny for me.
just comes up and smacks him on the back of the head.
And he calls him a midget, just to be mean.
And Wolverine, for like one of the very few times in an inventory issue, makes a pop culture reference, and he quotes Dirty Harry at Evil Sweater Colossus.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So now we the readers know that we have Wolverine facing off a guy with a really powerful dart gun.
And Wolverine,
He's
because it's a comic book, it's like, hey, we probably haven't mentioned your name yet.
They haven't, have they?
We have to put it out there. And he's like, oh, well, I'm going to give you my name because that's what we do in comics. We have to say who we are.
That would just be rude not to.
He's the ultimate soldier.
This is Warhawk, the ultimate soldier. Eventually, he will be linked back to Weapon Plus, which brought us Steve Rogers and Weapon X.
Also, Luke Cage and Phantom X and like dozens of other people that are vaguely important in Marvel Universe.
Pretty much any character who got their powers as a result of science by a shady government organization will somehow be linked back to Weapon Plus. And then we get a nice little fight scene. There's some good tension here.
Wolverine cuts the trank dart in half because he is much more powerful against trank darts than the Phoenix Force is.
Totally makes sense.
And Warhawk's like, all right, well, You can't cut through me because I am essentially Luke Cage, but evil and...
Yeah, he goes on to quote that his skin and his bones are a form of organic metal, which is literally how Luke Cage and Colossus both market themselves.
And he says, all you can do is annoy me, Wolverine, and I have to admit, at this point, Wolverine's pretty annoying.
He is kind of a pain in the ass. So Wolverine is talking a big game, saying, this doesn't scare me. And his thought bubbles are like, okay, I am moderately afraid. This guy is faster than me. He's better than me. And he fights like Iron Fist.
Which, he encountered Iron Fist in Iron Fist number 15, which is, as we know, the first appearance of Sabretooth.
Yep. And then Warhawk actually, we get this thing where Warhawk is shown to be, listen, I don't want to be doing this. I have a crazy voice in my head that causes me pain when I don't do evil things, but still, I don't like you personally, so I am going to try to kill you.
So the guy was told to avoid killing you, but you're Wolverine and you're annoying.
He's got a killable face. So at this point, Colossus is both free of the glue and can now punch through the door or the wall that he was trying to get through before. Which I buy for the door. I figure you can turn off the force field around the door. I don't know how that affects the glue.
I think when Wolverine cuts all of the Danger Room mechanics, that it actually stops all of the things that are happening.
Okay. It sucks the glue back in or something?
Yeah, something. Or dissipates it or whatever. So it's also kind of implied that maybe Cyclops is blasting it as well because it's glowing red hot.
True.
Cyclops' beams are concussive force. They are not heat, although several times in the comics,
yes,
people get this wrong. Sometimes
they're heat beams, sometimes they're laser beams, but canonically, 99% of the time, they are just pure
concussive force.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you get what is a great moment. All of the X-Men leave the Danger Room. They confront Warhawk. Warhawk goes for the gas bomb that will save him because he's immune to the toxin. And Nightcrawler's just standing behind him going, this gas bomb, you want this gas bomb?
Is this what you wanted?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry, you can't have this one. And you got Kurt throwing in some random German there. I do not speak German. Mike, do you happen to?
I believe he's calling him Mr. Warhawk.
That's very polite of him. See, Kurt Wagner is a gentleman.
I mean, Mr. Warhawk. And Warhawk's like, Mr. Warhawk was my father. No, he isn't.
Dr. Warhawk was his father.
Oh, okay.
And then it's just Kurt and Colossus just
punching
randomly
him in the
beating him
face.
up. Yeah.
And Kurt says, like, it kind of hurt when I punched this dude in the face. It felt like punching you in the face, Colossus. And begs the question of how often does Nightcrawler punch Colossus in the face? But no, we have Warhawk detained and being headed off by the cops. And the cops are like, this dude is like the ultimate soldier. And how did some random school for gifted youngsters manage to wrap him up for police custody? And they're like, I don't know.
And Xavier just completely ignores the question. Scott's like, I guess we're lucky. Sure, why not?
And Xavier's like, I've had to give a lot of excuses for this place over the years, and I've had to give that guy a lot of explanations, and he never likes the explanations because they're totally 100% obvious lies. Now, keep in mind, Xavier has the mental capacity to just brainwash this guy into thinking like, oh yeah, this is totally something that could happen. Mm-hmm. But instead he wants to play with him and make him frustrated over the fact that he's not going to tell him.
Yep. Officer, when my giant stepbrother destroys this house every 6 months or so, it's just luck that we're able to stop him. When when Magneto, lands asteroid M on my front lawn, just lucky that we're able to stop him.
It's just random that all these monstrously powerful supervillains end up showing up at my school and getting their butts handed to them.
And what I do love is he's just calling the cops. He's not calling S.H.I.E.L.D. They're not calling, I don't know, some kind of New York City SWAT team that probably has the weapons for this. This is just the Westchester County Sheriff's Department or whatever.
I think that Xavier just wants to mess with this dude. I really, from these dialogue bubbles, get the idea that Xavier is like, I think it is funny that this guy gets so angry that I never tell him anything.
Charles Xavier canonically does like messing with people.
I mean, I don't really blame him in this case, right? It is kind of funny.
True. But you think you would give him something like, so the Juggernaut's prison sentence is going to be up in 3 days. You should be somewhere else.
I mean, Professor X is a jerk, right?
Yes. Kitty Pryde is a sage of wisdom. And then we just kind of have...
And this is actually an important moment that happens in this issue, but an important moment that then, immediately doesn't happen because this is an inventory issue, and so things that happen that don't really count. Jean says, I've decided I'm not leaving the X-Men, I'm going to stay with you. That doesn't actually really happen.
We'll be back next issue for quite some time. And then every other issue for a year or two.
Yep.
And then you have Scott. I just love that we do have Scott. Jean, there's something in your voice. I know you're scared. Let me help you.
And Jean has no interest in letting Scott help her. Mm-hmm. And Cyclops is like, do we know what the deal with this dude is? Yeah, and Xavier's like, not really. He was shielded against telepathy, and...
He seems like he was a supervillain with a grudge. I have never met him before. Professor, should we go over the definition of the word grudge?
And also, how many people that you've said you've never met before that you actually totally have met many times?
And then we get
X-Men Team Spirit.
Yes, and then we get a vague but important warning. And X-Men Team Spirit. As Wolverine, who has never had a friend, and the only friend we have established canonically, did just try to beat the crap out of him last issue. Wants us to know, lets everyone know that if anyone comes for the X-Men, he'll be there. They'll be there waiting for him, and there's like a group cheer thing. It's kind of adorable.
And the singer for next issue says that we're going to be encountering 2 villains from the past. Or at least not necessarily here, but in the letter page it says that there will be 2 villains from the past that will be joining us next issue. I wonder who those villains are. Do you have any guesses, Pete?
We will go into who I was thinking it was, because the cover of the next issue looks like someone very famous, but I believe it is Mesmero, or...
It is Mesmero, and then on the last page, we will get one of the greatest last page reveals in all comicdom.
It was Magneto all along.
You just spoiled the entire next issue, man. Sorry. I do want to talk about one other thing that happens in this issue. Actually, I wasn't going to, but Pete told me I had to. I encouraged him,
yeah.
So in the 1970s and 1980s, Hostess, makers of Twinkies and cupcakes and various other things, paid both Marvel and DC to put in one-page ads in each of their comics that would feature a Marvel hero solving their problems with Twinkies or fruit pies or what have you. And it was always against some generic villains, and it was it was actually kind of a fun advertisement.
They're kind of goofy. Lex Luthor is trying to steal the world supply of... Actually, the DC ones were a bit more branded, but it was always like, the villain is trying to steal the world supply of Twinkies. Spider-Man must stop him.
In this case, a lot of the Marvel ones, they just made up characters specifically using this for the same reason that they use low population characters in inventory issues, because they don't want people to mistake this for actual continuity. But the title of this one was probably fine in the 1970s when this was written. But now the fact that it's called Spider-Man Spoils a Snatch is probably not a thing that would be in a comic these days.
I will be marking this episode for adults because Mike and I spent a lot of time sniggering like 12-year-olds over that title.
I mean, Spider-Man, why you got to do that?
I am not proud of how funny I find that.
So anyway, yeah, hostess ads, right?
Oh yeah.
How crazy.
I mean, I am diabetic, and I'm sure that those had nothing to do with the fact that I ended up diabetic.
What's funny is Marvel actually in Thunderbolts, I believe it was when Nicieza was writing it, integrated a lot of the one-shot villains from hostess ads in a group of Masters of Evil.
I do remember that, yeah.
And that was amazing. It's one of the greatest things that has ever happened in comics.
Yes, eventually we will get to Fabian Nicieza and how freaking amazing he is.
He's one of my favorite comic writers, honestly.
He is probably my favorite comic book writer. He's just that good. He was able to write around Rob Liefeld's work enough to tell some incredibly interesting stories.
Well,
and if he can do that, and he did other things that were amazing, but I mean that is perhaps the most challenging thing he did.
I actually got to talk to Fabian Nicieza a long time ago when I interviewed comic creators for a website in order to get a discount on merchandise from that website. And Fabian Nicieza, I asked him about Thunderbolts and coming in after Busiek on Thunderbolts. He was like, well, so I came into Uncanny X-Men after Chris Claremont. Mm-hmm. I came into Fantastic Four after John Byrne. I came into Avengers after Busiek. He's like, I've just decided that my career is coming into a comic after a legendary creator, legendary run, and just trying my hardest to make it work from that point.
And Fabian Nicieza, if you are somehow listening to this, you made it work.
Every single time.
Yes. So we here at Mike and I over here at Welcome to the Podcast. I hope you survived the experience. We'd like to thank people. We've been getting a lot of great feedback, getting a lot of views, and as just two random guys in Michigan with a microphone, we really do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we'll talk X-Men 111 next time.
Yep. See you then.